Welcome back to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Morell. This week's special guest is Rob Moore, a businessman, investor and a no-nonsense voice on freedom of speech and cancel culture. We get into the reality of being a workaholic, building a property empire and the dangers of speaking out in today's world. Plus, we dive into some wild conspiracy theories along the way. This one's straight talking and thought-provoking. Thanks for listening and watching this episode.
My wife said, "You have not had a day off since Steve Jobs launched the first iPhone." I hate Steve Jobs. Taxes are too high. 3% conviction rate. Theft and knife crime is too low.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Morell. This week's special guest is Rob Moore. I'm really looking forward to sharing the Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Rob, how are we?
Good, Tony. Am I good, bad or ugly?
Listen, I'll let the others make a decision.
You let
on
the
that.
public decide.
Yeah. No, listen, Rob, I'm absolutely delighted that you've agreed to come on. You've invited us down to your lovely place in Peterborough.
Looks good, doesn't it, with you?
With my logo on your... Yeah, it looks...
Look at that.
One of the guys, I think it was Dan, he's just there while I was just waiting to come in. But
Anyone think we'd be doing this a while?
Exactly. It looks a lot better than our one anyway. But no, listen, I've wanted to get you on for a while. I really do like what you're about. You're honest. You say how it is. And that's how it should be, really. And, you're not scared to say what you want to say. A lot of people call you the disruptive entrepreneur. Do you agree with that, and do you like that title?
Well, I mean, look, I'd say Elon Musk's more disruptive than me. We've got $6 billion companies. So disruptive, I suppose, in the sense that, like you said, I'm prepared to say things others maybe are too scared to say or worry about the consequences. The system, the banks, political environment, current government. I don't mind speaking out quite candidly about what I think is wrong. When people get cancelled, I speak out and support them. And I've been shadow banned and part cancelled myself for that. So in that regard, you might call me disruptive. Also because, we survived and then thrived after lockdown. Our business now is a medium size where I believe not even 0.1% of businesses last as long as we do or get to the size that we do. So I guess that I have a show called Disruptors, nearly 1,300 episodes. I interview disruptive people. So I suppose there's some box tickers, but I'm no Elon Musk. But I think I might be a bit younger than him, so I've still got time.
I was about to say that, but it's just what it's about. It's about freedom of speech, and a lot of people do get silenced and shushed, and you're getting told what you can say and can't say and what you can do. And we're going to get into that within this episode. And I just want to, I want this episode to be a little bit different. People get to know Rob Moore, who the real Rob Moore is, do you know what I mean? So I just want to start from where you grew up, where you're from, family life and school life was like.
Yeah, well, it's weird because I don't really have a home, because I was born in a place called Newmarket, and then we moved pretty quickly away to Mildenhall, which was an RAF airbase town, and then Cambridge, Ely, Peterborough. So I've always been around the sort of East Anglia, Cambridgeshire area, but moved so much, I don't have a home town or city. And most people I meet do. And actually, as I say that to you, it kind of feels a bit weird. But it's just what it is. And my dad had pubs and bars and clubs and restaurants. And my dad would start a business. He would bring it up from the ground. And then he'd have some boom times and some bust times. He had, I think, 2 or 3 really successful pubs around the RAF, Mildenhall and Lakenheath. And then the Gulf War happened and all the Americans just left. And his businesses just died. So then he had to move and set up a restaurant and hustle on the last money he had. And I suppose I probably get a bit of hustle from my dad because my dad never quit anything. And I've seen his ups and downs. And even when I didn't really understand, I knew I could just feel my dad does not fucking quit. And he's 81 now and he's not been ill. And everything, I mean, I remember when he was 48 years old, he said, "Son, I'll be dead by the time I'm 52. And he said it really serious. And I was like, he's had a hard, stressful life. And he's 81 and he will not die. And, I hope I've got some of that in me. I feel like I have. Yeah.
But you know what, though, Rob, speaking about your dad, you know, and I know he played a massive part to where you're at now and stuff, and looking up to, and I think that's what we all do. You know, you look up to, you have a figure, a father figure, your father, or some people have a father figure, and to hear, like, you say, hustling in the bar, like in the pubs and stuff, and watching it decline and then not giving up, because a lot of people in business and stuff just go, oh, do you know what? And business is stress. You know, anyone who says it's not is full of it, you know. And I think, you know, especially in that trade, you know, with your dad and stuff, you know, you learn a lot of things. So from an early age, I think you were helping out in the bars and stuff, like in his bars and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, so age 6, I think my dad started me working, which I think's illegal now, but I fucking loved it. I loved it. I'd have a stall like this, a bar stall, on the
inside of the bar.
Yeah, inside the bar, not outside. Because anyone who can't remember pubs, you know, you'd have the bar and have all the bar stalls.
Yeah.
People come and sit at the bar. And I had a tall stool inside so I could reach, and I'd serve customers pulling the pints, and I could count well with money because I would take the cash and give them the change, and I learned that age 6. And then age 8, my dad got his main bodyguard or door, kind of like a doorman stroke bodyguard, because he was in Newmarket. All the stable lads because Newmarket's famous for racing.
Yeah.
All the stable lads used to come down. There was fights all the time. My dad loved to fight. And he'd have a couple of like doormen, his sort of bodyguards. And one of them was the best pool player in Newmarket. And Dad, his name was Harry. And Dad got him to teach me pool. And so I'd just be playing pool all the time, getting taught by Harry. I think I beat Harry first time age 8. I think I'd beat my dad first time age 8. And they taught me to hustle, so I'd hustle in the bar, winning pool, beating all the older people at pool.
For money and that, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like pretending I was quite shit in the first game, you know, proper hustling.
Playing them,
age 8. Look, I'm sure some of them let me win and enjoyed it. I was only a kid. I could hardly reach over the table. And I'd empty the pool tables and the fruit machines and count all the money. And, you know, when you're young, do you remember, like, it felt like £10 notes were that big and 10p coins were that big. Yeah. They were big and you were young. So, yeah, and I hated school and loved being in the pub, loved being around it, loved being around the customers, loved working. And now I work every day. My wife, get this, my wife said... I said to her recently, I said, you know, I don't think I've had a day off in a while. And she said, you have not had a day off since Steve Jobs launched the first iPhone. I fucking hate Steve Jobs. And I think I've worked every day for, 10 plus years? Because that's the environment I feel.
That's ingrained.
I just feel the safest in that environment. It's my therapy. I love it. I don't really have hobbies. I speak to people occasionally, like, well, what else do you do outside of work? Nothing really.
I think one of the quotes I seen was, your hobbies is your work.
Yeah, your passion into your profession.
Yeah.
Content into cash flow. You know, I there's nothing else I want to do.
But that, like I say, you've learned from an early age about what business is about and how hard you've got to work. Seeing your dad, you know, having him struggles, and, you know, to this day, you know, he's still here. He's 81, and you know, you've got that bit of that hunger in your stomach from an early age to go and achieve stuff, where, you know, a lot of businesses out there, you know, you go and have a go, and I think it's that, you know, that thing where they say, look, every business with between the first 4 and 6 years is there something they fail or whatever, and but with yourself, it's just ingrained from an early age where you've just gone, do you know what? I want a piece of this. Like, say, school was that just non-existent? Or
no, I mean, I did well at school, but I don't really count it. Because I only did well at school because I didn't want to be embarrassed. So, you know, some people I know at school didn't really care. And I kind of respected that in a way. I got 2 A stars, 6 A's, 2 B's at GCSE. I had to drop 1 A level because I had a motorbike crash. I nearly killed myself. So I was in hospital for most of the second year of college. But I still got an A and a B on the 2 subjects that, for A level art, I got an A, and I pretty much resubmitted most of my GCSE work. They didn't find out. Because I couldn't do most of the coursework because I was in hospital. So I basically got an A level art with my GCSE work. I was good at art. So I got really good grades, but they were fucking useless. I don't use any of them now. None of them. Completely useless. And I only did that because I didn't want other people to say I was stupid.
Or you were a failure or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I did it purely. I didn't know what I wanted to do. in a way, like I said, I admired the people who are like, I'm going to get an E or a fail. Fuck it, I don't care because I don't like this shit. But I studied hard. Actually, my dad, he knew how to motivate me, and sometimes it was with an iron fist. But he said to me when I think I was 14, and I just got into girls. I got my first girlfriend, and I was like well in love with her.
School stuff.
Yeah, and like fuck school, and I just want to spend all day every day with my girlfriend. And my dad said, if you get all A's in your GCSEs, I'll give you 200 quid, which back then was a shit ton of money, especially when you're age 14.
Be a couple of grand now.
Yeah, yeah, with inflation. yeah. And so I locked in, and he gave, because I got 2 B's, but I got 2 A stars, and he said, well, look, they cancel each other out. I'll give you 200 quid. So that really honed me into work. I probably, if it weren't for that, I probably would have, got all B's or something. So he found out a way to motivate me. So yeah, school, I hated it really, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that from there, you know what quote I also quotes again, Rob. This is what I love about you, because you're a self-made property investor, businessman, entrepreneur, best-selling author, 19 books, record holder, speaking for 47 and a half hours. You're a pilot, own 7 companies, and probably the most important one, you're a proud father and loving husband. So if you want to just touch on them, like I say, self-made property investor, how do you do that?
It's actually 12 companies now, I think.
Is it 12? Sorry.
Yeah. No, that might be. I'd just like to try and make it accurate. And I haven't flown the helicopter for a little while, so I'd probably have to do a few little
A refresher.
Yeah, a refresh. Yeah, you have to do your checks. But yeah, I have, I think, 345 properties. I think we have in our portfolio, or rental units, because some of them are blocks. And our property management firm, I think, has 1,400 tenants. So I think we're one of the top 3 biggest management firms in the city.
That's some going, that, like.
Yeah, I don't really think of it like that. It's just what we do, and it's just, I'm always thinking of the next deal, not the last deal. I'm never sitting on, we've got I think we might have the biggest private rental block in the city, 100 apartments. But, we're putting a deal together for one at the moment for 600 apartments. That's not a done deal, but, because they take a long time to put together. But if it can be done, we'll do it. We're putting a deal together for one of the 2 shopping centres. There's 2 shopping centres in Peterborough. We're putting a deal to buy one or part of one of those. So, yeah, that's property will always be something we do. We've done it for, my business partner and I.
Mark, is it your business partner?
Yeah, nearly 20 years. So, but yeah, I look forward, not back. Maybe one day I'll look back and go, yeah, I've done all right, but I've got too much work to do to
You just
think like
continue.
that.
My wife says to me, it's not on the scale of what you do, but says to me, Tony, just relax, let them cogs stop working. And sometimes when you have a business, it's because you're so passionate. Because when people work for a business, they don't have this. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I get because it's your business, they don't have that desire, and they don't have that to push the business forward as much as you, because they just work for you. Don't get me wrong, what I do, I try and look after me, me employees and stuff, and we all be trying to be on the same page. But on the scale like you do, you must be just constantly 24/7.
Yeah. Imagine you have an emergency power generator that kicks in. You probably do not want that emergency power generator to take a break or to just, stop the power for a day or 2. And so it's a bit like that when people who aren't entrepreneurial tell other entrepreneurs to slow down, take a break, get some therapy, unwind. Entrepreneurs like us are needed. We are those emergency power generators, because 55% of the UK economy comes from small business owners. And, we generate most of the taxes. The top 1% of earners, which I am very much in, probably in the top 0.001, we generate the top 0.1, generate 40% of the tax revenue. The top 10% generate 70% of the tax revenue. So you need those generators that keep going all day, all night. And that's the kind of entrepreneur I am. So if anyone says to me, slow down, because they think I'm doing too much or going too fast, I just think they're going too slow or not doing enough. But I suppose it depends who says it, because maybe your wife says it because she loves you, and that's fine. Or maybe she says it because she's not seeing you enough and she wants to see you more, and that's negotiable. But most people, when they tell you to do something, it's just because they don't want you to do it, or because they wanted to do it themselves and they didn't have the courage to do it. And so you have to be careful when people give you advice, because free advice is worth every penny. And I always remember that. And I had a conversation with a friend yesterday who was taking some advice from someone. And I said, would you take advice about being rich from a broke person? So you have to be very careful who you take advice from. Even the people around you, like your wife, like your children, like your parents, like your friends. Maybe they say it because they love you, but maybe they haven't got the results you want. Or maybe if you wound down and had a few weekends off and your business would suffer, then maybe they wouldn't benefit. So, I try and respectfully listen and smile when people give me advice. But my default is, have they got the results I want? And if they haven't, I'll probably just smile and carry on anyway.
Yeah, but that's, like you say, that advice there, it's there to see what you're doing. And I just find that sometimes when people say to you, oh, yeah, and you just hit it on the head when people say, slow down a little bit or whatever, you say, well, and I appreciate people's advice, do you know what I mean? I'm all about listening and learning, because there's many things that I don't know. But what you just said there about, well, they're not doing it. So, it's like, you can see where they are, and no disrespect to them, whatever they're doing in their life, but you do get a lot of people who sort of try and put a blocker in the thing, or putting something in that stabilise, and just think, you know what, I don't really, not being disrespectful, but like I say, it's one of those, within business, you've got the CV that goes beyond. And, what would you say to anyone out there starting a business, within property or what, in any line of work that you do, what would you say to them?
What, to start their business?
Yeah. If, how would they go about, in regards to becoming a successful businessman and stuff like that? Because like I say, 4 to 6 years, the first 4 to 6 years is probably the toughest.
Well, if anyone says to me that it's hard, I think, well, that's good. And often the hard thing is the right thing. The paradox of hard things is that the hardest thing that you're avoiding is probably the thing you should do the most, probably. So I like statistics that aren't in the favor of the masses, because I back myself. Mm-hmm. I don't gamble on anything except myself. No betting, but I'll bet on myself. So I hear all these statistics of, in the first year, 90% of businesses fail. In the third year, 90% of them fail. And I just think, well, I won't. I won't fail. I'm not made to fail. I mean, I probably will, on a small scale, fail a lot, but I won't fail in the ultimate goal. And that just means there's less competition if it's harder. The harder something is, the less people are going to do it. The harder a business is, or an industry is. We have planning, and planning laws are tight, and they're hard to get done. And there's a lot of resistance, even though this city needs major redevelopment, and even though our councils and government aren't going to put all the money in required to redevelop this city, even though we're pumping all the money into this city. It's still really fucking hard to get anything through and get anything done. But that just means most people are going to fall, and therefore we're probably not going to have as much competition in bidding for the properties, and we're probably going to get better deals. So what would I say to anyone starting out? The harder it is, probably the better it is to do. And if you just never quit, you can't lose.
Yeah.
If you just never quit.
Even if it gets tough, it's...
Just never quit.
Yeah.
If it's really fucking hard today, just get into bed, because tomorrow it could be easier. If you're having a bad week, just get to Sunday, because Monday it could be better. And, I tell you something I really like to think about. Everyone after this should watch a slow-mo video of a crab shedding its shell. These crustaceans, and they have this hard armor, and they shed them. And it looks like the hardest thing in the world, like physical torture. And these animals shed them. If you think about how a little bug can turn into a butterfly. If you look at a tree and how hard the roots have to grow down. So it's just the nature of life that anything worth it is hard. So there's a saying, hard now, easy later. And what most people are doing is avoiding the hard for the easy and then failing or quitting, and then avoiding the hard for the easy, then failing or quitting, then avoiding the hard for the easy, then failing or quitting. And actually, I'll tell you what's the hardest thing about business. It's not the market. It's not the customers. It's not labor. It's not the taxes. It's your own demons. It's your own, oh, I'm a fraud. Oh, I have imposter syndrome. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, it's hard. Oh, people won't like me. Oh, I don't know how to raise money. Oh, I'll get rejected. Oh, I'll get ridiculed. Oh, I don't want haters. Oh, I don't want to upset people. Blah, 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 blah. You know, all the
Overthinking.
Noise. Yeah, they are the hardest demons. So all you have to do is face yourself every day. Every day, I have multiple conversations with myself in my head, just reminding myself that all the fears and all the things I'm thinking and all the worries and all the anxieties, because I get them every day, they're not real. Yeah. They're just lockdown was a great example. Of all the things I could have worried about our business, most of them didn't happen. And then one thing called lockdown did, and I had no idea and could not have prepared for that. And that's generally in life, most of the things you worry about don't happen. And then every now and again, something blindsides you, and you probably never could have predicted it. So how can you prepare for what you can't prepare for is adaptability and agility. And that is backing yourself that no matter what happens, you'll deal with it. And, I have that belief in myself. I'm not the best at anything, but I believe I can handle most things you throw at me. Even if I don't have the answers, I feel quietly confident I can do that. And anyone can do that.
Self-belief, really, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Backing yourself and stuff. A lot of people.
Yeah. Backing yourself. I mean, self-belief's a moving target. So a lot of people think that confidence and belief is within you.
Yeah.
But if you do something well, your confidence levels go up. If you do something not well, your confidence levels go down. And if you're Cristiano Ronaldo or Elon Musk or Tony or Rob, that's the same. You have a good day, confidence goes up. You have a bad day, confidence goes down. So confidence is an ever-moving thing. So the way you develop confidence is by developing competency, getting good at things. Because you can't kid yourself. You can maybe blag other people. Yeah. But when you put your head down at night, did you try? Because you know what? Let's say you tried and you failed and you tried and you failed, but you knew you fucking tried. You're probably going to lay your head down with some confidence, even if you didn't win. I'll give you an example of this. I had my first fight I'm 46 now. Yeah, age 45. I had my first fight age 45. In front of 1,800 people. And they were to see us, the guy I was fighting. I wasn't on some undercard. A non-boxer against a non-boxer. We filled an entire venue, 1,800 people. He was 20 kilos heavier than me. And we had $100,000 bet in front of 1,800 people. And I didn't win the fight. Although I thought I did, but I didn't. And I respect the judge's decision, but I thought I won. But I felt fucking good because I couldn't have trained any harder. And most people thought, because, most people know I'm quite a tactical guy. And so most people figured out, well, the way Rob wins this fight is jabbing him and running away from him for 3 rounds. And I tried to knock him out from second one to the end of the third round. Like if you watch it online, I wasn't wildly swinging, but I tried to knock him out multiple times. And I didn't. And I thought, and people who knew me thought, that I would probably go into quite a mild depression for a reasonable amount of time because I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah.
I fucking laid my head down on the pillow and I thought, you know what? There was nothing more I could have done other than being more tactical in the fight. You left it all
in the ring.
Yeah.
But
trained, fucking nearly killed myself training. So the point is, whether you win or lose the fight, if you know
that you've given everything.
Yeah. I mean, I could have been smarter, but I gave everything. And so therefore, I felt good.
But Rob, considering what you've done on the scale that you've done it, what was that feeling like in front of 1,800 people fighting?
I really loved it.
Did you enjoy the adrenaline, the buzz?
Yeah, I really loved it. Yeah, I felt really calm going into the ring. I really believed I was going to win. I really believed I was the better fighter. I really believed I'd train harder. And I'm probably right. Like, a lot of people who watched the fight thought I had the fight. There was a knockdown in the first, but it was a scrappy one, and I didn't think it was a knockdown.
Yeah.
Just literally, my knee touched the floor and I got back up. But they counted it as a knockdown, and when you do, that's a 10-8 round.
Yeah.
And in a short fight, But how did it feel? It felt great. It was a brilliant experience as a non-fighter.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant experience. He was a lot younger than me. He was a lot bigger than me, and I gave it everything.
Would you do it again?
Well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe. But the point is, if you give things all you've got, that's all you can do, and that will develop confidence within you, whether you win or lose.
Yeah, no regrets, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's it. Getting into property investments, how did all that come about?
So, at the end of December 2005, I went to a property network meeting. I was 50 grand in debt. My dad had just had this big nervous breakdown in his pub in front of all of his customers. He'd just got sectioned. I've told the story many times, so I'll just leave that there. But I felt like enough is enough. I've had enough of debt. I've had enough of, being scared. I've had enough of hiding. I've had enough of the self-loathing. I've had enough. So I went. I didn't know how, but I knew that I had to change something. So it's funny, as soon as you make a decision, things that you didn't realize were there show themselves. So I made a decision, I'm going to sort my fucking life out. And then all of a sudden I remember the people who've been saying that I should do this and that. And one of them was a guy called Mike, who had a gallery in Peterborough that hung some of my art. And he'd been saying to me for a few months, you need to get into property, property goes up, it goes up, you need to get in. And I was always like, I haven't got any money and I don't know what I'm doing. And after my dad had his breakdown and been arrested and beaten up by the police, I thought, I've got to do something with my life and make my dad proud. So I went to this local networking event. It was just very serendipitous. I went there, and then the last person I spoke to at the bar isn't still my business partner today, Mark. And he gave me a shot he blagged me a job with his boss, and they gave me a job. I was prepared to do no pay just to learn. And I thought, what I'll do is I'll do it for 3 months, no pay, and I'll learn, and then I'll blag some commissions. As it turns out, they paid me minimum wage, which I think was £6 or £8 an hour back then. But they gave me 500 quid commission per deal I could sell. I didn't know how to sell a deal. I didn't know how to sell anything. So I started reading loads of sales books and got my head around it quick. Got rid of my 50 grand worth of debt. Sold a load of properties in that year. Made a decent amount of commission. Earned good money. And we bought 20 properties, I think, in that year.
20?
Yeah, just evenings and weekends after work. Going on viewings privately outside of the job. And that was like our breakthrough year in 2006.
20 properties in your first year, that's some going.
Yeah,
man.
none of my own money because I didn't have any.
Yeah, so Mark's obviously support.
Some of Mark's money, some of his mum's money, some of his stepdad's money. Yeah.
But then from there, it just gradually just blew up, didn't it? It just...
Yeah, 21st year, 32nd year, 53rd year, roughly. And we sold some of them, flipped some of them, packaged some of them. We stopped doing that after the first few years because we just wanted to keep everything. If I'd have kept them all that I'd either sold or had a share in, we'd own nearly 1,000. So I don't sell them anymore.
Yeah, so now it's just obviously properties that you just rent out and stuff like that. And
yeah, keep them, rent them, buy, hold, die.
People investing in property is a no-brainer. Is that to invest your money and like you say, because we're going to get onto the banks in a bit soon, but investing it into property and into gold, it's another thing that we'll speak about and stuff. Is that advice that you would give out to our listeners and stuff?
Well, I mean, I don't give advice. I share my experience.
Yeah.
And everyone has to think about their own context and take responsibility themselves. I share what I've done and what I know. And definitely gold is pretty much all-time high as I speak, and likely to go higher because of weak pound, weak currency, weak economy. So I definitely think gold. I mean, to make money, you need to be aggressive, and to keep money, you need to be defensive. And gold's a great defensive asset. The great thing about property is it goes up. It's been proven. In 1088, all the land and all the property in the UK was worth 1 million. Now you struggle to get a garage or a car parking space in central London for 1 million. So that's proven. Other assets are not proven, like meme coins or assets that have only got 10 years worth of history. Property, you can make money with the capital growth. You can make money by the equity, getting a discount, and you can make money in the income. There's not many assets where you can make money in capital, equity, and income. So there'll always be need for property. You could argue there's not a need for Bitcoin. I mean, it's a good store of value, has good properties. So that might be its function. But property has a survival function. It's shelter. And it's very difficult to build more on the land we've got. We've got enough land, but it's very difficult to build on it with the tight planning laws and the interventions from government. So, yeah, property and gold are two of the most stable, predictable, probably safe assets you could get into.
Yeah. The thing I want to speak to you about, every winner was a beginner, every master was a disaster. Where did that come from?
Well, I mean, I borrowed those quotes from people like Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar. And sometimes I make my own quotes, like if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. And sometimes I borrow other people's and blend them together. Every winner was once a beginner. Every master was once a disaster. It sounds like mine.
It is.
But, obviously most of the good stuff I've learned that's made money, I've learned from people before me, from mentors. I invested heavily in my own education and knowledge, gone on lots of courses, been mentored by a lot of rich millionaires and billionaires. And that was the difference between being broke and being rich. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's the people you learn from. Everyone's learning from someone. You're either hanging around with people who are at or below your level and they're dragging you down, or you're hanging around with people who are above your level who are dragging you up. So, always remind people when they're starting out or they're struggling or they think it's hard or they've had a bit of bad luck or life isn't quite going their way. And this can happen, and it can be our fault or it can be external. Some people have had bad environments. Some people have had bad parenting. Some people have had a bit of bad luck along the way. Some people have made some bad decisions. But every winner was once a beginner, and every master was once a disaster. And, I have friends who have been 7 and 15 and 20 years sober and who are, smashing it at life, who 20 years ago were an addict. Mm-hmm. So it's just always good to remember that.
No, it's good. Like you say, that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And surrounding yourself with people who want the same or have got that drive and burning desire to what they want to achieve. It's true, isn't it? It's basically true with what you say when you say that.
Yeah, well, everything I say is true, Tony. But do you know what? Especially on LinkedIn and occasionally on Twitter, a lot of people say, "Oh, another made-up post. This is just a bullshit story. This has just been made up." My stories are not made up; they are true.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would I say to them? Why would I say them? So, yes, it is true because I said it.
So, this was a question that someone asked me to ask you because I didn't tell many people I was coming to interview you. And he said, can you ask Rob any advice or any experience to gain in funds investments to help a family-run business grow to help service more people in the local area and other parts of the UK? What would your experience or advice be?
Okay, so the main mistake people make when they're raising money is they say, I've got this idea, I've got this business, and I want this money for this. And no one fucking cares. Let's just be real.
Real, yeah.
If I want your money, one, I should respect you enough to find a way to find out what you want because you're lending me your money. And if you're going to lend me your money, then you're going to want something. So I should really talk about what's the benefit to you? What's the return you're going to get? How am I going to make it safe and secure? How can I protect your interests? And if I get out of what I want and into what you want and like have empathy and relatability for you, then the pitch changes. Instead of me saying, hey, I want to launch money.school globally. I want 200,000 members. I want it to be the biggest online platform in the world. Lend me 100 grand. It's basically how most people's pitches are. If I said, that you could have a share in a global online business, and I could protect your investments and give you security and charge. And I could grow your brand exposure worldwide, not just you investing in the platform, but you could probably have a module or a part of a brand within the school. And I start thinking about what you might want out of it, then the pitch changes. So that's the first thing. What does the other person want? Not what do you want? Number two is you've got to get yourself in front of the right people. So a lot of people are just hanging around where they hang around rather than going to networking events and business events and property events and angel finance events. And so you've got to get yourself out where the people are. And then number three is you've got to figure out a way of concisely, probably in 25 words or less or a couple of sentences, getting people interested. So, for example, my vision is to help as many people on the planet get better financial knowledge. My goal for my training businesses is to do 50 million in sales by 2030 at a 10 million pound profit margin. And our strategy to get there is to build me as a global trailblazing online brand and to get 200,000 members of Money.School and Property.School. I have just told you our mission, vision, and strategies in, 3 sentences?
Yeah.
Most people couldn't even do that in 3 pages or 300 pages. So clarity and sharpness of communication, of pitch, and understanding what they want and going to the right places with the right people who've got money, they're the 3 elements that will help you raise more money.
So basically, that's how that answers
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Is it 19 books that you've wrote? No.
Yeah, so I've co-authored some and I've ghost written some. So if you search Rob Moore on Amazon, I think you'll find 7 or 8 books that I've solely authored. But yeah, 19 books I've written or been involved
Money
in writing.
Matrix is that the latest one?
Money Matrix is the latest one. Money and Life Leverage are my 2 probably most best-selling ones.
Yeah. How do you find the time? I mean, obviously,
24 hours in a day. Do you know what? It's not about finding time. It's about finding energy.
Right.
Because everyone's got the same amount of time. So you
24 hours in a day.
Yeah, you could bleed out a bit more time. But now the science has come out that we all do need 8 hours sleep or whatever we need. You shouldn't actually sacrifice sleep. So you've only got 2/3 of the day, and you probably need to recuperate and have something social and hobby for maybe 1/4 to 1/3. So realistically, most people are going to work 1/3.
Yeah.
So they're going to do 8 hours realistically, unless you're Elon Musk. So it's not about getting more hours. It's about getting more out of the hours. So it's about energy management, not time management. Because if you imagine 9 o'clock, start work, go online, go on the Daily Mail website, see what's going on, check my phone, do a bit of scrolling. It's 9:45, go into a meeting, sit there, scroll on my phone when I'm in the meeting. You know, they've not fucking done anything before 11 o'clock. And then by 3 o'clock, they're clocked out before 5 o'clock. So if you can maintain great energy, which means doing what you love, being passionate about what you do, loving your challenges as well as, the things that go well, whatever you need to do to feel good. So this morning, I've walked 10,000 steps already this morning. I've had a 4-shot espresso, which always helps. I've got out in the morning sun and nature. I've had a cold shower. I do things that I know give me good energy. And there's certain things, and everyone's different, but there's certain things that give energy and there's things that take energy away. If you have a really good, interesting conversation with an inspiring person, that's going to give you energy. If you hang around a drip and a drain, it's going to drain energy.
Yeah.
For me, if I get in a cold shower or an ice bath, that gives me energy. If I go out on a walk, a good walk in a fresh morning, it gives me energy. A good strong coffee, but not too much, gives me energy. A good sleep gives me energy. Not eating too many carbs or sugars gives me energy. So if you figure out all the things that give you energy and do them, practical, tactical lifestyle, then you'll do in 24 hours what someone does in a week.
So it's a good routine, basically, as well, isn't it? Sticking to a routine and just not staying in that lane and just doing what you're doing,
Yeah, I mean, look, every now and again, it's okay to let your hair down. No one's a robot or a machine. But if you know what your non-negotiables are. So for me, if I don't sleep well, that's the biggest thing that's going to screw me. I can kind of get away with not eating great, but sleep need, coffee need, decent walking, cold shower. I know I need those. And then I need to do inspiring work. I don't mind doing a bit of admin. I don't mind, doing a bit of operational stuff because, you don't just get to pick all the best bits.
Yeah.
Everything, even the hot girl you fell in love with has downsides. Even the nicest supercar has downsides. So I don't mind, but overall, you got to love what you do. I think that the biggest giver of energy for me is living a passionate, inspired life.
That's it. And like I say about you, Rob, what I like is you're genuine, you're honest, you believe in what you say, and you're not worried if you're upset along the way. Have you always believed in freedom of speech? Because I think nowadays it's just...
Yeah. So the paradox, I think if you look at everything, it exists in a paradox. The paradox of hard things is the hardest thing is the thing you probably should do. The paradox of entrepreneurship is great people are great for your business and bad people are bad for your business. So the paradox of parenting is you love your kids and sometimes you hate your kids. So everything exists. Everything exists in a paradox. So you should remember that. So a paradox of me going on Facebook and expecting free speech is Facebook are letting me use their platform for free. So their rules, their house, their rules. So I understand that. But I also think if I speak a truth and I get cancelled for it, when I'm making them a lot of money, when I've brought hundreds of thousands of followers to their platform, that doesn't feel right. And this bullshit fact-checking from people who aren't checking facts like the BBC or Facebook have admitted it because they've got rid of all their fact-checkers because it wasn't fact-checking, it was censorship. And bullshitting us into saying we're not censoring, but they are, and saying they're fact-checking when actually they're censoring. That pisses me off. Like, at least be fucking honest.
Yeah.
If you say, we do not allow A, B, C, D, E content. If you want to share A, B, C, D, E content, fuck off to another platform. I respect that. But they don't. They bullshit you, and then they just sort of silently cancel you. Because if you're banned off the channel, you know where you are. Yeah, shadow banning or de-reaching, silently cancelling you. Because they never fucking tell you why. They just like spout and just here's our policy,
guidelines, and all that.
Yeah. So that's some kind of bollocks. And yeah, a lot of people have been speaking the truth about things, or a reasonable version of the truth, or at least a fair criticism, and being cancelled for it. And that's bollocks.
Matter of opinion, and people are entitled to have these opinions, and they're just, like you saying, getting cancelled. And I see you support a lot of people who get cancelled, you know what I mean?
I do. So when Andrew Tate went down, when Russell Brand went down, when they tried to take Joe Rogan down, I supported them all. And I didn't support them all in that because I knew that they were innocent or guilty, because I didn't. And by the way, it's still not been proven. But do I believe that we should have a trial by judge and jury or a trial by social media? I believe a trial by judge and jury. That is our judicial system. Our legal system says you get fair legal representation, you can have a fair trial. And trial by social media and cancelling or being made out to be guilty when you haven't even had a trial by judge and jury is bollocks. Everyone deserves a fair trial, whether I like them or not, whether I agree with them or not.
Yeah.
If someone murders my son and I'm not sure, they deserve a fair trial, because you are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Not guilty and then your responsibility to fight for years until you're proven innocent. So I don't like trial by social media.
And there's so much of that trial by social media. And,
or legacy mainstream media, yeah.
When people post opinions on social media, we've seen what went on, people going to jail and stuff like that. Where,
in more recent times when Labour took over, people were going to jail. I mean, look, there was racism and there was hate speech, and I don't agree with that.
No, totally.
But, if the conviction for theft and rape in the UK is about 3%, which is what I was told, and they're letting convicted criminals out of jail, why are they putting people in jail for social media posts? Doesn't make any sense.
What you've just hit it on the head there, Rob, because when people, these hideous crimes like rape or, sexual abuse, and stuff like that, they just get the sentencing. When you see in sentencing, I just think that it's absolutely balmy, the sentencing that the courts give to someone writing a social media post. Now, whether we agree with what they wrote, right, they're getting banged away for 2.5 to 3 years. Some of these are rapists or whatever, some of them, and they've got form for it, and they're getting 2 years, or they're getting non-custodial sentences, they're getting put on a sex offenders register. I just don't see the lot. How does that work?
I don't know. To me, it feels corrupt.
Yeah.
But it's also nuanced, and I don't know.
You just have it's something that's.
How will you ever know? You'll know 10 years later when the truth comes out. Like the files for the assassination of JFK look like they're about to come out. And someone came on my podcast and says he absolutely knows for a fact it was mafia. And he knows that it was the government went to the mafia. And that looks like, that's what he said, ex-mafia boss. And it looks like those files are going to come out. I don't know when JFK was assassinated, but it was decades ago.
Yeah.
And the truth now is coming out. So a lot of the stuff you talk about here, the truth will come out in 10 or 20 years. And then we'll really know. And honestly, I don't know. And every single case is nuanced. And so I don't know. Like, you know, a lot of what Andrew Tate says and does, I like. I know him. I like him in my experience of him. But I don't know what he's been up to behind closed doors. And, you know, some of the stuff you've seen looks like he's, you know, pretty, like, I mean, if that's kinky fucking games he's up to with women, that's quite brutal. So the honest answer is I don't know, but he deserves a fair fucking trial and he hasn't had one. And Russell Brand, everyone knew he was a slut. Everyone fucking knew. So any girl that gets with him, like you knew he was a slut. Marilyn Manson, there's just been this whole, I like heavy metal, and there's just been this whole sort of expose documentary on Marilyn Manson. And as it happens, the case has just been dropped. But this documentary made him look like a predator. And he was a Satan-worshipping rock god. If a girl gets with a Satan-worshipping rock god, they're not going to get flowers on Valentine's Day. So this is fucking complicated, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know the truth of any nuanced situation. At the same time, 3% conviction rate is not enough.
No.
Not enough. And that needs to change. And yeah, so I see both sides.
I just say, you know, I don't know, 10, 20 years later when it all comes, that's no good when someone's been put in jail.
No.
You know, and
it's not. And people have been victims and they've had abuse. This is, I don't normally pre-frame anything I say.
Yeah.
But I am going to pre-frame this because I respect, like if someone has been raped or abused, I can completely understand why that person wouldn't come forward because it must be so hard.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If we all have to take responsibility and we can't just blame the system. So bear with me on this. I'm going to go on a tangent to come back. If we all cancelled our BBC license today together, the BBC would change. The wokeism would stop. You know, the bullshit fact-checking that isn't a fact would stop. The agenda would stop because they would run out of money overnight if we all cancelled our TV license. So if we don't like things, we have to stand up and speak out. And people don't do that because they're scared. They're scared of being deplatformed. They're scared of the publicity. They're scared of the exposure. They're scared of the legal cases. They're scared of the consequences. And I get it because I'm a business owner and I could lose everything by saying what I say. But we need to speak out more.
Yeah.
And if you've been wronged, fucking speak out. Because if you don't, someone else won't. And I speak out, and a lot of people say, fucking hell, Rob, be careful, you're going to be cancelled, or Rob, aren't you scared, or blah, 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 blah. Maybe. I don't know. I hope not. But
you believe in what you believe in, Rob. That's the thing.
Yeah, and like I'm not radical.
Yeah.
I'm not fascist. I'm not far right. I'm not that radical. Like, taxes are too high. I believe it. That's not radical. It's fucking obvious.
It's obvious, yeah.
You know, 3% conviction rate for, you know, theft and knife crime and rape is too low. That's not radical. But also, cancelling people on social media and deplatforming them when they've not had a trial is also not right, even if they end up being guilty. And if they end up being guilty, then fine. cancel them, put them in prison.
But you've had a fair trial.
Yes.
Exactly. Most powerful people in the world, Rob.
I'll give you the quick, easy answer. The most powerful people in the world are the ones that control the money.
Yeah. That's all you'll say on that.
Well, no, I'll say more, but ultimately, I don't know yet who controls the money. As you know, I asked this on my show a lot. That's one of the reasons you've asked it. But, BlackRock have a load of money. So they control a lot of the world. Massive corporations have a load of money. Some, big families have a load of money. Some media moguls have a load of money. Whoever has the most money controls the world because money is power. So follow the money. And it is what it is. I'm not saying it's wrong. It is what it is. Money has built the most amazing libraries and schools and museums and hospitals. Money has donated billions to developing countries. And money's also fueled wars and mass murder. So money is a tool. It's just a neutral tool. Power and corruption and good and bad and right and wrong is all nuanced in humanity.
Yeah. Conspiracy theories that you believe in, that you genuinely believe in.
Well, I wouldn't say I have that many or any conspiracy theories, but there are industries that don't serve the people, and the business model that makes the most profit is the worst for humanity. Insurance, food, pharmaceuticals, maybe banking are examples. So the pharmaceutical industry is incentivized not to cure us, to make maximum profit. So there's a paradox of unaligned interest. So if you find a drug like sugar, imagine, I want us to put ourselves in the position, I was going to do you, but I'll do me as well, to be fair, and everyone watching and listening. Imagine discovering a drug that doesn't overtly and obviously kill people, but it's probably not ultimately great for the welfare of humanity, but also kind of like is on them and their discipline. But fundamentally, it's not good for people, but you could make billions or even trillions out of it. I mean, that's going to be a hard one to turn down. So I get the paradox. Like, sugar is a killer, but it's only a killer if you consume copious amounts of it. And you could argue that, well, someone's just not very disciplined. They just drink too much. But it is addictive.
Yeah, it's addictive, yeah.
And then, all these foods that they lace with the sugar makes them addictive. But then you could just say, well, we just need more discipline. And it does take discipline. So I get the moral dilemma. And also, imagine Coca-Cola. Like, they didn't know for decades that sugar was the poisonous killer that it is. And then maybe they found out, maybe they didn't really want to admit it. And what they're going to do, go, oh, sorry, all shareholders, we now realise that sugar can kill people. So we're shutting Coca-Cola down. When it's got the powerful BlackRocks and these wealthy families that are the shareholders pulling the strings. So life is fucking complicated and nuanced.
Yeah.
So it's not a conspiracy theory. The food industry, for the most part, is like slowly killing people, and they're profiting billions. The pharmaceutical industry is curing not the disease, but tricking the brain by removing the pain, or giving us drugs that are keeping us alive only by body and not making us better. And imagine this other paradox, reverse paradox. Imagine they found a drug that completely cured cancer, and it was a one-off take. No, they're not going to do it. Because everyone's going to get rid of cancer once, and then that's it. So it's probably better to give,
slowly
3 years of chemo and 3 years of radiotherapy. Look, I don't know a lot about that industry, I want to make that. And some drugs are brilliant. Cool. And they have had people live a longer life. That's another paradox. Some drugs are great. Some drugs are not. But the pharmaceutical industry's motives are misaligned with humanity's motives. These are things I believe to be true. And I don't think they're conspiracies. I don't think there are lizard people living inside the moon like David Icke thinks. You know, I think that there's a lot of rapists and gangs out there, not just Muslim. You know, so like people just tend to generalize. But we need to get the banking sector, the food industry, the health industry, the insurance industry. The insurance makes money out of not paying claims. And it's there to pay claims. So we need to somehow align the best interest of humanity with the interest of these corporations, and they're misaligned at the moment.
But that's exactly what you just said there. They don't want to know. It's just...
Well, why would they? Because then they just won't make the same profit.
Of course.
The whole thought process of making money has to change. So I think it was Milton Friedman that said that the fundamental problem is the motive maximizing shareholder value. So, you know, the motive of shareholders in companies is to maximize value, which means maximize profit. And so that means profit at all costs. So the only way these misaligned incentives change is if the whole motive of why we do business changes. Now, by the way, there are many companies that do things for good, and there are many billionaires that give billions away. So it's not all nefarious, but somehow we've got to change the motive.
Yeah. I think it's very powerful what you said there, Robin. You know, the banks, cashless society, I know it's a big, big thing that you speak about. You know, people who are watching this episode, if you can enlighten them exactly, because a lot of people are blinded by what about this topic.
Well, this is another thing where whose best interest is it that we have no cash? Because some people say, oh, well, yeah, Rob, but, you know, contactless Apple Pay is much easier. And, you know, that's not going to get stolen. Well, actually, if your iPhone gets stolen, all your bank accounts can get hacked. So your money can be stolen online just as easy as your cash can be stolen. But, okay, so what's the upside of a cashless society for humanity? Convenience. What's the downside? Social credit system. Full control of your money.
Yeah.
Full tracking and tracing of your every fucking move, because for you to pay digitally, you have to go online and they can track you. They could hyperinflate. They could charge you whatever they want in fees. They could freeze your account. They could debank you. The list of downsides goes on, and the one upside is convenience.
Is it true that it's not what they do in China? Is it China or somewhere? I can't remember what country it is, where they have all that social. What's the name?
Well, there is. I don't know how deep it is in place, but you know, the social credit system is essentially communism, where all the money is divided up between everyone, like a ration, basically like a ration. And the only people that benefit from a ration are the people who've got nothing. And a ration doesn't incentivize growth, entrepreneurship, innovation, building. So a social credit system is essentially a ration. So if you want to live on rations for the rest of your life, then bend over and accept a cashless society.
And that's the way, you know, it's going.
Well, there's no guarantee.
They're trying, aren't they?
There's no guarantee that it will go that way. But it's much more likely to happen if you just give up cash for convenience because you don't want to carry a few notes around you. And what about the millions of people who don't have a bank account? And what about the people who, you know, they have 100 quid a week and they budget? That's how they budget. What about all the people on the streets that are begging? No one in my city has got a cardless fucking tap and pay who are begging on the streets. So there's I'm scared. Like too much power to government.
They've got enough power as it is, and that is just more and more, more power that they want over you. You've got to pay to get your money out. It's madness. You go to the bank to draw money out. You've got to pay money to get your money out.
Well, the thing is, you can hardly put any cash in now. You can hardly take any cash out.
You question when you want to take it out.
Yeah, you have to give all sorts of information. If you don't tell them exactly what it's for, they won't
block
give you. Yeah, they won't give you your money. You can put hardly any money in most crypto exchanges now. You can be debanked just like that. You can have your accounts frozen 4 weeks, no notice, no explanation. It's too much control. That's why I teach people about being decentralized and having money in physical assets and not having all your money in the bank and understanding the motives of the bank.
It's absolutely bad. It's bonkers. It's like what we're saying. But entrepreneurs, why are they leaving the UK, Rob? Why is it? Because we're getting absolutely,
Fucked.
Yeah, that's the word to use.
20% VAT, 25% corporation tax, 40% plus income tax, 15% national insurance, 4% contributions for your staff, business rates of 40, 60, 80 grand a year, all these other insurances and privacies and protections that you need to subscribe up to, all the subscriptions you have to do, the list goes on. And the shit services, the broken NHS, the fucked up roads, the high crime, the amount of homelessness, the lack of clean anything, no clean water, no clean air, the police corrupt and broken.
That's why no one's
So
got no
the
faith.
question isn't why are all these people leaving? The question is, why is anyone staying?
You're going to go abroad where, obviously the same.
It's not the same in Dubai. It's clean in Dubai. There's no homeless in Dubai. There's 5% VAT, not 20. There's 9% corporation tax, not 25. There's no income tax, not 40 plus. So there's opportunity. There's innovation. There's cleanliness. There's safety. Why the fuck would you stay?
And that's what a lot of people are saying now. Why do we want to bring our children up in the UK? And it's sad. This is our country, but unfortunately, it's on its arse.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm not leaving yet is because my kids are in school here, my parents are here, my wife's parents are here, my business is here. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to fight and campaign for a bit, see if my ranty, loud voice can get heard somewhere. They can stop putting the fucking taxes up. I keep going on Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer's posts, and I don't troll them because I don't like trolling, but I do point out some things. Keir Starmer was going on about, the growth. I said, well, the Bank of England have just cut rates and basically halved their growth predictions. What about that? We need accountability. So I'm going to keep banging the drum because, I've been here 46 years.
And that's what I think everyone needs to do, is all come together. And because the UK now is, like I say, it's on its arse, and it's, who wouldn't, if you've got the what's saying to go and do it and move abroad, and because I think a lot of people, that's what's going to end up going on, and just moving because they've got no faith within our governments. We're, like you're saying, we're being absolutely fucked. Do you know what I mean? So, but going from there, your podcast Disruptors, how did it come about?
Yeah, so 2016, I'd finished my book Life Leverage, which was my swan song for retirement. So I wrote a book about leveraging everything out. I retired for about the third time. And then I thought, well, 2 weeks in, I think I'm going to start working again because that's what I did the last two times. I'm good at retiring because I've done it so many times and then unretired.
More comebacks than Tyson Fury.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. So then I had nothing to do, and I also like trying new things, and social media and content's been good to me, and sort of figured out how to do quite well of it for business and to get my message out there. So I thought, fuck it, I listen to podcasts that I enjoy. I was enjoying Joe Rogan's podcast and Tim Ferriss's podcast back in the day then. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do mine. Normally when I do something, I just fucking do it.
Just go all in.
Yeah, and we're 10-year anniversary this year for Disruptors. 1,400 episodes, whatever it is.
Yeah, say nearly a decade of interviews. You've had some influential people, powerful people on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Considering you've done 1,300 odd episodes.
Yeah.
Any stick out for you? I know there's that many, but does any stick out for you?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, every time Andrew Tate's come on, we've blown shit up. Yeah. Good and bad.
Yeah.
Got me 2 shadow bans as well on YouTube. Nigel Farage is great. Andrew's been on twice, but 3 episodes. Nigel's been on 3 times, I think, Nigel Farage. So he's been great. I had Jake Paul on.
What
Jordan Peterson on.
Fucking hell. Wall Street, yeah.
Yeah. I had Jordan Belfort on. Yeah, loads of great guests. So, yeah. And probably maybe the best is yet to come as well.
Well, I was going to say to you, you've had some unbelievable guests there, just naming a few. Is there any, you'd love to. I mean, look, I know you probably Elon Musk or
Yeah, Donald Trump and Elon Musk would probably be my
they're
top
on me.
two.
They're actually on me. What's the name here?
Yeah.
That's who I was gonna.
Yeah, because they're fascinating people and they're polarizing and dividing, and obviously they're everything they do blows up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like yourself though. You know, you're very, you know, you speak out and they say what, you know, a lot of people don't agree. That's fair enough, but they say what they think, and I don't say I agree with everything they say or do. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
majority of stuff, I think, well, you know, a lot of the country or certain parts of the world will agree with what they do,
Yeah.
but they'd be too massive. You know, in the future, you never know.
Yeah, I got some faith. I've got maybe some roads in, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
Is there like I say, family life today? How's family life today?
Family life's good. My kids are 10 and 13, and they're good kids. I don't think they really know what they want to do yet.
Yeah.
My son keeps saying to me he wants to start a business, and he's like, well, Dad will teach me. So I feel like, you know, that's good because I want them to do what they want to do. You know, my son was one of the best golfers in the world, and I kind of wanted that a bit much, and it wasn't really for him. It was just more driven by me. So, you know, I want what the kids want. But if I could choose what they would do, they would be entrepreneurs, because I think you've got a little bit more control over your own life, and you can, you know, you've got a bit more freedom.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, and the there's not as many ceilings. You know, there's a lot more upside, and you get more done in private sector than you do public sector. So yeah, hopefully my son will get his business started soon. My daughter had a bracelet making business, and she made loads of money. And I did some lives, and she came at my events and
She sold them.
pitched them and trolled me. Yeah, so yeah. Hey, look, I'm very lucky.
And your wife, she's massive support. And
Yeah, she's backed me the whole time. Always just let me crack on. Always believed in me, you know, which is really important. So super grateful to her. Yeah. And yeah, she's studying now because she's brilliant with sort of health and wellness. She knows everything about foods and basically anything just sort of for health. So I'm supporting her. So she's studying because she wants to sort of set up that business, because she's in her sort of mid-40s, and I think she wants something else, not just to be a mum and a husband to a difficult guy to be with. I don't think any entrepreneurs are easy to be with, and I know I'm not easy to be with. So yeah, she's like, I met her just as I started, and I think she likes the journey. She should have jumped off the bus if she didn't. Wouldn't she?
I think my wife's the same.
Yeah.
She's like, she just said, Tony, you know, just stop, just. But I know she loves me, and she, you know, and stuff like this as well. You know, she supports me, and I think having that woman behind you who backs you, you know what I mean. I think it's like she says, you know, strong walls shake, but they never collapse. Where sometimes you feel like, but it's just you keep going and stuff. But listen, Rob, I just want to say thank you very much for, you know, inviting us down today, and you know, and you know, giving your time, because I know you're very busy. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right.
Thank you.